Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Niels. I'm one of the directors and co-founders of the Neptune Cargo Network, the first and biggest global NVOCC and LCL cargo network. On behalf of our team, a very warm welcome to our second Neptune Familiarization Conference. Before we start with our program, I would like to request if you can switch to speaker's view. Today's conference will last about 40 minutes, and to start off with the program, we will have a community open mic that is open to everyone. I'll pass on the mic to my partner and co-founder, Christian Reuber, for this segment.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris, and nice to meet you all. I would like to go through the gallery view and call some names out. And when I call your name out, could you please unmute yourself and give us a short introduction about yourself, where you're from, which company you represent, and what your specialization is. So let me start off with Sanjiva. Maybe you can unmute yourself and just introduce yourself, please. That would be very nice.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Sanjiva from Colombo. Actually, my company is Horizon Freight Concept Private Limited. It's actually the freight forwarding company. We have another company. It's doing NEOCC business. So my aim is to join NEOCC company with Neptune.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. How about Nadia? Could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Nadia. I am from Sonic Interface Public Company Limited, and we have subsidiary company. Actually, Sonic is an international logistic provider, and we have subsidiary as Grand Link Logistics is doing the core business of consolidation and NVOCC business. Nice to meet all you guys.
Okay, nice to meet you. Thank you very much. How about Mr. Saurav? Could you please unmute yourself? That would be very nice.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I am Saurav Anuj. I am from the head office, Kolkata. We have 4 offices in India: Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, and this Kolkata. And we are a freight forwarding company here, and we are handling all kind of shipments, starting from air to sea, smaller one to the bigger one. And rest, you can see our profile. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. How about Mr. Timo Friedrichs? I assume you're from Germany, is that correct? No? Okay, could you please unmute yourself and maybe introduce your company and yourself? That would be very nice.
There you go. Good morning, at least morning from this side of the world. As the sign says, my name is Timo. I work for a company called Border Logistics in Chile, South America.
Yeah, okay.
It's a small and medium company. We have a total of 25 people who are part of our team. Our basic business is FCL, LCL, air freight, and local distribution logistics. We've recently signed an agreement, long-term agreement, fortunately, for the last mile distribution for e-commerce products, which has made our year despite COVID. And happy to meet you all. South America is probably a destination for some, which is very unknown. So feel free to ask any questions you have, free of charge, of course. So anything you need, just drop me a line. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Timo. I would like to move on with Esse Susoy. Please correct me if I'm telling you the right pronunciation. Could you please unmute yourself and yeah, introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, you did it for me. Hello, hi. It's almost correct. It's Ece. My name is Ece. It's very nice to meet you all. I'm from Limamar, Turkey. We are specialized on air freight, sea freight, and rail freight. So please don't hesitate to contact us whenever you need. it's very nice to meet you all.
Okay, thank you very much. And I will call one more name out. One guy in the car, sitting in the car, Mr. Herb White. Could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yes, I have. Good morning, all. My name is Herb White. I'm from Panama Line, Panama. We're in the Colon Free Zone in Panama City. We are air, ocean, and overland forwarders, LCL, FCL. And any needs you have transshipment through the Panama Canal or through Panama Colon Free Zone, we're here to help you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. That would be it for the open mic. I would like to pass the mic back on to Niels, who will continue with the program.
Okay, great, fantastic. Thanks a lot, Christian. Let's move on to the next segment together. We will now introduce to you who we are and what Neptune is all about with this short network video introduction about our group.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of our Neptune Cargo Network team, it is our pleasure to welcome you to our first familiarization meeting. During this conference, you will learn all the ins and outs of Neptune directly from the founders. Before I begin with introducing Neptune to you, I will guide you through our agenda for today. Today's program will last around 30 minutes or so with the following program. After my presentation about Neptune, we will be having an open Q&A to answer all the questions about our network, followed by a keynote presentation on logistics trends after COVID, and then our after movie from our last conference. Neptune Cargo Network is a network for consolidators and LCL forwarders under the company RW Solutions, which is a network management company that we have founded in Hong Kong in 2002. And we are operating our company out of the Philippines. RW Solutions, meanwhile, has 8 forwarding networks that are into industry niches. We believe that networks should be themed according to their handling advantages and interests for members to engage into more meaningful business exchanges with more qualified networking across the various brands. At present, we have more than 900 members from 100 countries under the RW umbrella, Neptune being the second biggest network that we have. Now, let me introduce to you who we are. Neptune Cargo Network is the first and biggest global NVOCC and LCL cargo network, which started in 2016 and now has around 190 consolidators and LCL forwarders from 61 countries. We started the network strong, attended by 140 delegates during our kickoff meeting in Bangkok, Thailand in 2017. We increased to 180 attendees in 2018, and then we grew to 230 participants in our last meeting in Manila, which was very, very well attended. Our Neptune family is truly growing with global presence in 61 countries, and we will be glad to welcome you on board. Now let me jump straight into the benefits of being part of Neptune Cargo Network. Neptune is virtually represented in every corner of the globe, and by being part of the network, you will enjoy instant access to consolidating partners from all over the world that you can rely your business on. Being part of Neptune means that you will only work with trusted, screened, and reliable consolidators. Every new member application undergoes a due diligence to screen the company's financial stability, market reputation, sales strength, and length in operation. All members are likewise subjected to our code of ethics and guidelines of the network, which must be followed and adhered at all times. Members who have been reported and proven to be unethical in the line of business will be subject to probation. Although Neptune assures that every member is diligently screened, the network still wants to make sure that all your billings are paid. The network has a payment protection program with 5,000 immediate dispute protection, which will increase to $20,000 US depending on the years of your stay with the network. Through our annual conference, we reduce your cost of traveling to several countries as Neptune conducts an annual partnership meeting in different countries every year. In this meeting, you'll be able to meet and build contacts with hundreds of agents in one place. The annual conferences and meetings must be attended by Neptune members to fortify their relationship with other members. Since this pandemic, we conduct virtual meetings, and this year's virtual conference will be held on September 7 to 9. We promote our members and their services to the logistics industry by attending exhibitions in different parts of the world, including Intermodal, Break Bulk China, FIATA, the Freight Summit, and many more. Aside from attending leading exhibitions, we also distribute our agency list through our global database of around 40,000 freight forwarders. We have recently launched our brand new Neptune mobile app where you can access our directory and agency list of consolidators and LCL forwarders anytime, anywhere, in just a few clicks. This is an exclusive information environment to keep up to date with members, message each other, and have a look at the social wall. I would like to invite you to our second virtual meeting, which will take place on September 7 to 9, 2021. This time, you will have the opportunity to take part in the face-to-face meetings with other consolidators and LCL forwarders from all over the world. And hopefully, we can all meet up in person next year for our most awaited 4th annual partnership meeting on March 8 to 11, 2022 in Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. Thank you for sharing your time in attending our Neptune Familiarization Conference. Welcome to Neptune Cargo Network, the first and biggest NVOCC and LCL cargo network in the world. Stay safe and healthy during this time, and I look forward to welcoming you to Neptune very soon.
All right. Now that you have an idea of who we are opening our floor to any of your questions that you may have, and we will be happy to answer any one of your questions. But before that, I would recommend that you switch to side-by-side speakers view. Let me maybe get started to warm you up with some of the most frequently asked questions that we come across since many years. So have you attended any Consolidators networking events before, and what's your favorite and how was it? Now, we all know that networking events form a very important element of any network. It's very important to meet face-to-face in our business as freight forwarders, as it's a very person-to-person business, and people like to do business with one another. So obviously in current times, the face-to-face aspect is not possible. So we do conduct a lot of virtual meetings. But again, what's important and most important is for the community to get together, whether it's online or offline, and develop relationships together to develop and grow business together. This is basically the core element of any networking group such as ours. How do you background check your partners? It's very important, of course, not knowing who you work with. You want to have a little bit of background information on your partners. One of the ways how we do our background checking is through the FDRS websites, local freight forwarding associations that we have relationships with, that we exchange information with, and by checking the company names and the owners' names online, of course, where records may be available. And I also, of course, recommend checking how long a company has been in business. Maybe also doing address proofs of companies. I know it's not always easy to do that in many different countries, but there are various ways, and also third-party providers that can assist in background checking. And we certainly do that with all the members that are coming on board to add an additional layer of, let me say, peace of mind, right? A third one, which is also important, is how much credit do you provide to your partners, and how do you protect yourself? Many times, consolidators give each other credit that is not really clear, or we provide one another payment terms that haven't really been discussed, or we anticipate that we expect these kind of credit terms from one another. But that puts a huge risk on us, right? In Neptune Cargo, we have a payment protection system in place, a payment security fund actually, that helps to protect our members against any credit risk or payment defaults, we call that. This is one of the reasons also why many companies decide to join our group. And I think what's very important here is knowing that you are part of a larger network management company that has been in operation since 2002, has a strong financial background in order to be really able to provide proper payment security. Because one question that you should always ask yourself when joining any group that is outside, as there are hundreds of networks out there, is do they have the financial means to be really properly financially securing their members? That is oftentimes a very big question mark and something that you should be asking yourself when you join any group. So having said these, feel free to ask me any question you may have. I'll be happy to clarify anything that might be on your mind. If you don't have any questions, of course, you may also ask a question in the chat. What we also, of course, do is feel free to ask us any questions you may have over the emails. We are always available for you. Our team is also always available for you as well.
Hello, Christian.
Hello. Yes, is it Askat?
Yes, this is Askat speaking from Kazakhstan.
Hi, good
you.
Evening to you. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. You see, I have also already been a part of Neptune LCL Cargo Network when I've been working in CMA CGM Logistics Russia with Alexander Berzenev.
Yes.
And we were doing LCL there with famous Pacific shipping via Rotterdam. So now I'm working in Kazakh Railways Group in Kazakhstan.
Okay.
And we have already developed the LCL shipments ex-China to Kazakhstan. So now I want our company wants to join KTZ Express Kazakhstan wants to join LCL Cargo Network, Neptune Cargo Network. And for this we have written a letter, but never received the reply. And we want this invoice from you to be a part. And there is a meeting I read in Vietnam in 2022.
Yes.
Yes. So how is this possible?
Maybe could you please remind us of your email address? I'm sure we must have either overlooked receiving your emails. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but if you could put your email in the chat box, and our team will reach out to you, I'm very sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Christian. Whom should I contact? Whom should I address my the second email to?
Maybe Christian, should that be Karina or should it be AJ?
Cyrene, if possible.
Oh, Cyrene. Okay.
But if you could please just place his email in the chat box, that would be great. There's a chat box button there below which you can see in Zoom. And
sure, I can see that. Yes, here I am.
Can you just type email there to us, and then your email address, and then our team will Cyrene will reach out to you.
Okay, great.
That would be perfect. as.kozikenov@ktze.kz. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Here you are.
Thank you, Ashkat.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have no questions anymore. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, I'll be happy to move on to our next segment. We will proceed with that segment as it is a keynote presentation from Mark Miller on the COVID-19 impact on the global supply chains. Please roll the video.
Hello, this is Mark Miller, author of the book Global Supply Chain Ecosystems. I am pleased to be able to share with you my thoughts and insights about the COVID-19 impact on global supply chains. We are now on the cusp of a thrilling new era for supply chain. This coronavirus crisis has vividly exposed the profound interdependencies in today's global supply chain ecosystems and powerfully demonstrated the intrinsic risks in our complex, connected, volatile world. In this presentation, I will explore the supply chain ramifications of COVID-19, which is already proving to be a super accelerator of some pre-existing megatrends, including globalization shifts, digital disruption, and the e-commerce frenzy. The next normal will be characterized by uncertainty. But what is certain is that this virus will have significant supply chain implications, both over the short-term 12 to 18 months, but also over the subsequent 2 to 3 year medium term, such that supply chain 2025 will be substantially different on multiple dimensions. The initial impact of COVID-19 was supply-side gridlock, as mainland China went into a coronavirus-induced hibernation just after the extended Chinese New Year holidays. This resulted in global shortages of components and products, making it powerfully and painfully apparent just how global supply chains have become inextricably dependent upon China. COVID then embarked on its own globalization journey, spreading fear and uncertainty around the world as healthcare systems became overwhelmed. Widespread lockdowns ensued, with shops and businesses closing. High street retail came to an abrupt halt, triggering the most dramatic collapse in demand. The exceptions, of course, being medical supplies and equipment, which experienced an unprecedented surge in demand. As consumers became unable or unwilling to venture out of their homes, shopping for groceries and household essentials moved online en masse, turbocharging the e-commerce frenzy and generating unparalleled volume growth in small packages for home deliveries. Then, just as China started to reopen their economy and factories were getting back to work, production orders were getting cancelled due to excess inventories and lack of demand. And so global supply chains ground to a halt. As these extraordinary supply chain shocks reverberated around the world, companies are being forced to urgently reevaluate their sourcing strategies, business models, and distribution channels. This inevitably resurfaced discussions about the relocation of offshore production. Let's recap. Nearshoring is the relocation of production activities closer to the market where the products are going to be consumed. Onshoring, also known as reshoring, is one step further, whereby production is moved back into the country where the goods are going to be consumed. These are not new topics. Recall other huge supply chain shocks such as the Fukushima earthquake, the Iceland volcano, and the Thailand floods. They all triggered animated nearshoring discussions, championing the need to relocate production closer to the final consumption markets. However, what typically happens is that enthusiasm for change tends to dissipate as things soon get back to normal, and companies realize the actual enormity of truly reconfiguring their supply chains. But this time is different. This time, I believe, nearshoring will become more than just talk for a number of reasons. Firstly, this COVID crisis is much more severe in impact and global in reach than previous supply chain shocks. The consequences from a supply chain perspective will be much deeper, much wider, much more long-lasting. Secondly, this COVID predicament is intertwined with massive geopolitical tensions between the world's superpowers. Tensions which have already triggered some companies to relocate the production of their US destined products in order to avoid the US tariffs on China sourced imports. And thirdly, with the continuing growth in emerging markets and the increase in intra-regional trade, globalization had already become somewhat stalled. And so with the increasing polarization between East and West, coupled with lingering frustrations about differences in business practices, I believe it's inevitable there will be some decoupling, resulting in changes to global trade flows. And so COVID becomes the catalyst that actually stimulates companies into taking real action on reshoring and nearshoring initiatives, which will reduce dependencies and diversify risks, but will obviously result in shorter supply chains. However, relocating your supply chain is much easier said than done. This is not for the faint-hearted. Today's supply chains have been built up and fine-tuned and developed over a number of years, if not decades. They cannot just be readily untangled, packed up and moved elsewhere. This is a serious undertaking, whether nearshoring or reshoring. It's a project that's likely to be measured in years, not weeks or months. And whilst COVID is a catalyst for companies to take action, COVID-related restrictions will inhibit the process of reconfiguring the supply chain by nature of travel-related limitations and, of course, the restriction on in-person exchanges. Accelerating the process, on the other hand, will be government incentives. The United States, with much fanfare, has announced grants and subsidies and tax relief for American companies that relocate their manufacturing back into the United States of America and create American jobs. It's not just America. Canada, Korea, some European countries have all announced initiatives to encourage the relocation of manufacturing. Japan, for example, has allocated a $2.2 billion fund to help Japanese companies repatriate their manufacturing back into Japan and create local jobs. Now, of course, in these first world economies, there's a concern about the high cost of labor. And this is where I believe we'll see automation come readily into play. Robotics and automation are substantially lower cost now than they were 20 or 30 years ago when we started the offshoring globalization journey. And readily available, economically viable automation solutions will ease the process of reshoring manufacturing back into developed market economies. Now, for nearshoring, the key beneficiaries need to obviously be in close proximity to the final consumption market and have lower cost platforms. So the key contenders for the United States market, for example, would be Mexico as the leading contender, leveraging the North American Free Trade Agreement as well. For European markets, Eastern European countries such as Poland, Turkey, Hungary, would be leading contenders as nearshoring platforms. So nearshoring will reduce reliance on Asia in general and China specifically, and we'll see the supply chains being typically much more regionally focused and therefore shorter. They could be configured as made in Latin America for America or made in Eastern Europe for Europe. However, This will in no way result in a mass exodus of manufacturing outside of China, but we will see some diversification across the Asia region. Several reasons for this. First of all, we are now firmly in the Asian century. 1/3 of global GDP is in Asia. We are home to 1.8 billion people in the consuming class. And by the year 2030, Asia will represent 2/3 of the world's middle class. So made in Asia for Asia will remain a very viable supply chain strategy for generations to come. And this will enable companies to capitalize on the huge potential across Asia's emerging economies. At the same time, more and more companies will also be diligently exploring their China Plus options, looking for additional locations around Asia for sourcing and production of products and components where there is abundant labor that is lower cost than the China labor has become. Different sectors will have a different mobility, if you like. Garments, footwear, sports goods, furniture, their supply chains are relatively mobile or movable, certainly compared to much more complex products and supply chains like high-tech electronics, household goods, and automobiles. So the leading contenders around the Asia region, they vary by industry segment. But Vietnam, Indonesia, India, Bangladesh, Cambodia, these are all contenders for post-pandemic divergence of production activities that can leverage their low-cost labor markets. However, none of these alternatives can match the huge extent of China's resources. China remains the clear leader in both scale and scope, leveraging its massive infrastructure investments over the last 20 years and its huge workforce. And for that very reason, many supply chains will remain in China, or at least remain China-centric. And that includes all the multinational companies who are selling into China's enormous domestic market, whether they are targeting the consumer or the industrial segments. Such companies will retain within China all their manufacturing, sourcing, and assembly activities for goods destined for sale in the domestic China market in the supply chain strategy that is now known as in China for China. So in summary, the consequences of COVID-19 will result in a step change for global trade as we know it, spelling the end of 30 years of globalization. Post-pandemic, the next normal will see some radical reconfiguration of global supply chains, adopting a much more regional and localized approach. Evolving through to year 2025, we can expect to see widespread deployment of shorter supply chains that increase control, increase responsiveness, and increase resilience, whilst also reducing lead times, reducing transport costs, and reducing emissions, and helping to mitigate risk. And so in times of such great uncertainty, it is best to be prepared. Companies should be planning for the worst, hoping for the best, and always expect the unexpected.
All right, there you go. Thank you for this keynote presentation from Mark Miller. We would like to close off the program with our Neptune aftermovie of our last conference that was held in Manila in 2019. It will give you an idea of how we organize our networking events. Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining our Neptune Familiarization Conference. I hope that you had a great time, and to officially end our program, we would like to know your feedback on how we did today. There's a short Zoom survey or poll that will pop up now. I would appreciate your quick comments, just 3 quick survey questions that will pop up now. We will also send those via email after this meeting. I'd also like to invite you all to participate at our second virtual meeting, which will take place September 7 to 9. This time you will have the opportunity to actually meet face-to-face with all the other delegates and members that will be participating, with the other consolidators, that is, and LCL forwarders from all around the world. So that would be an excellent opportunity to actually try to develop business with the other consolidators. So once again, thank you for participating today. And if you have any questions, of course, about our group, we'll be more than happy to answer those over mail or any other means. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. Bye-bye.